We're talking Super Wildcard Sunday. Starts off with the Steelers and Bills. This is a game that will certainly be impacted by weather, especially when there's talks of 20-mile-per-hour plus wind speeds. Historically, that's where the scoring tends to drop off big time. 37.5 points is the average points scored in all games with 20-mile-per-hour winds or higher over the last 10 years. The forecast shows an hour or two before the game there's going to be wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour. If those wind speeds end up staying around till game time, we'll see this total fall even lower than it already has. Wind can impact different stadiums more or less, or in other words, the location of the game makes a big difference. When people think of Buffalo, they might think in the city, but this is in Orchard Park where you have a lake effect, the winds howling off the frozen lake right into the stadium. And it can't be ignored how last year the Bills exited the playoffs in large part due to the weather conditions outdoors in bad weather versus the Bengals. Bills were impacted by the bad weather much more than the Bengals were, which was kind of surprising. Former Bills wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie, who was with that team last year, said they weren't ready for the weather conditions. They didn't have a run game last year. They were throwing it 50 times a game, and their passing game and routes were so heavily based on timing, which the weather threw off. I don't think they'll be caught off guard by it this year, and this Bills team this year is so much better equipped to handle bad weather conditions, I think. Now, what's interesting is we've seen this total drop significantly without the spread dropping with it. Typically, when the total drops, the spread will drop as well because points become more valuable. This is very telling. It shows that Buffalo was bet so heavily at shorter numbers like -9 and 9.5 that the odds makers can't go back to those numbers even while dropping the total. I have a bet on the under 39.5 that I talked about in the wild card preview video I did on Monday. It's obviously moved down since then, but I think I still like it at the current number. This Bills defense has really improved, and Buffalo as a team has rallied off wins because of their defense, but it's just a coincidence it started happening after making the offensive coordinator switch from firing Ken Dorsey to naming Joe Brady as new offensive coordinator. But their offense hasn't even improved. And the numbers show it. If we look at Dorsey versus Brady, first number is the Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator, and then on the right it's with Joe Brady as offensive coordinator. 5% worse in success rate, 7% worse in passing success rate, rush success rate is 2% worse, yards per play, a little over half yard difference. So the offense has actually been worse, but the defensive numbers since firing Ken Dorsey has improved so much that it's really been the difference. Look at some of these numbers before and after Ken Dorsey got fired. Yards per play allowed before the firing, 24th to 6th. QB rating against, 25th down to 4th best QB rating allowed. And the big one that, in my opinion, makes all the difference is the turnover margin. The defense is simply forcing more turnovers, going from -5 in turnover margin to +3 is enormous. But that doesn't mean Buffalo isn't still turning the ball over on offense. It just means the defense is getting more takeaways. And that has to be the concern for anyone betting the Bills, in my opinion, the self-inflicted mistakes. They just, they're not going to go anywhere turning it over as much as they do. They have 8 INTs, most of any playoff team. But like I said, fortunately, their defense also has 18 INTs. So their turnovers are camouflaged on the season. The Steelers are +11 in turnover differential. Buffalo's +2. I don't think I can get to laying double digits with Buffalo, but that's a side I definitely lean to. Steelers just have a ton of defensive injuries. They're going to be without TJ Watt now. You got Mason Rudolph making his first playoff start on the road in bad weather. Bills and the under for me in this one. If I had to bet it, I'm already on the under. If you watch till the end, I appreciate it. Until next time, good luck with your bets.